Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, and here today we're going to be working through an NXT recap for this past episode of the show. This is the 3rd of March edition of NXT, and it comes to be the go-home show before NXT Vengeance Day taking place this coming Saturday. So, as per usual, let's go through all of the happenings across the course of this night, discuss everything that took place, and let's get started. So, first and foremost, we will begin things with the brand new NXT North American champion, and that would be Mylesborne after his 1-1 victory against Ethan Page last week. He would open the show basically saying that he wants to do things a little bit differently by actually thanking Ethan Page for doubting him, saying all that Ethan did was basically pour gasoline onto the fire within him, allowing him to burn brighter. He's soon interrupted by Ethan Page, who agrees that he should be thanked. Page then says that Miles got lucky last week and that he had a bad night. He goes through his accolades since arriving to NXT before he says that he's more than earned a rematch. We do see Robert Stone come out moments later, basically asking they at least go and put their wrestling gear on because both men are currently in suits in the ring. But Ethan Page says, you know what? Nope, they're both ready to go now, so let's do it. Robert Stone agrees basically without any sort of negotiations. Essentially, it's quite simple from Ethan, and we do get the match right there and then as the match begins with both men kicking things off in their suits. So there, we do have a North American Championship opener for the night, and this is a rematch from last week. This sees Mylesborne get another victory here over Ethan Page. By way of a little bit of sort of a meaner streak within Mylesborne. We've seen sort of the mind games been sort of played at by Ethan over the last number of months towards Miles. But that seemed to come up in trumps here for this occasion, because Miles tosses Ethan's trousers to the referee, sort of like rips them off of him and just throws them at the ref. This is after, quite a fair bit of Ethan's suit has already come off, like his shoes are off in the ring as well. And Mylesborne has one of the shoes in hand as well. And whilst the referee's distracted by the trousers, Miles literally smashes the shoe of Ethan Page against his face, and then would hit the Bourne again whilst he's sort of like turned around. And that'll be enough for Mylesborne to retain his North American Championship. So a decent opener, to be fair here. Wasn't the longest match, though. It was quite short, was quite quick. But it was quite high intensity, and it had a bit of a unique vibe with both men sort of going at it in their suits. So, yeah, think of that what you will, but it was a decent, fun way to kick things off. And we do see a successful defense for Mylesborne, seemingly putting Ethan Page behind him, probably for good, I would imagine. Coming up after that, we would then see Blake Monroe hit the ring, and she would basically just be discussing Jada Parker and how she's been a recent thorn in her own side, saying that she should feel annoyed, but instead she actually says that Parker just needs Monroe, simple as that. She says you don't interrupt irrelevance before highlighting her own importance to the NXT women's roster. She goes on to say that Jada is stepping up to Monroe and that she's doing that because it's the fastest way to get to the top, before she says that she's going to do some charity work by sharing the spotlight with Jada Parker at Vengeance Day this coming Saturday. Parker then interrupts, saying that the glamour only exists because she's actually insecure beneath all of the glamour exterior. She says that Monroe has spent her life playing a supporting character that wishes to actually just be the main attraction. Jada then continues, basically saying that without all of the show and the glamour, Blake is just a mediocre bitch. The two then begin to throw hands, resulting in Jada Parker sending Blake Monroe to ringside via way of a hypnotic, and that would end the segment between the two ladies. So tensions rising between them going into Vengeance Day. A little bit more on these two later on. We're not quite done just yet between Blake and Jada. Coming up after that, we stick with the women's vibe, and basically we'll go into a Speed Championship matchup here, the first round qualifier. So, Ren Sinclair taking on Nikita Lyons here in this matchup, and this one was a pretty fun contest, to be fair. Ren Sinclair being able to sort of like show what she can do. We don't see an awful lot from Ren, not enough, to be fair. Nikita Lyons isn't a mainstay of NXT anymore, sort of more regularly down in Evolve in the past number of months. But yeah, first round matchup here for the Speed Tournament. Showcases Ren Sinclair very nicely, and it would help her out because she got the win here over Nikita Lyons. That'll come courtesy of Ren hitting a belly-to-back suplex before then locking in what she calls the final wrench, which is a submission move, kind of similar to that of a cattle mutilation, and that forces Nikita Lyons to tap out. So Ren Sinclair advances. She'll take on Thea Hale in the semi-final, before then the winner of that one faces Fallon Henley for the NXT Women's Speed Championship. Coming up after that, we would then see a tag team contest. This would see Shiloh Hill teaming up with Hank and Tank as they went up against Vanity Project. So 3-on-3 tag team matchup here. This one was quite fun. This one was pretty physical, to be fair, for all 6 men. It had quite a lot to it. There was a lot of animosity. There was just a lot going down. There's action spilling to ringside. We saw steel steps be placed in a unique position, sort of like midway in the between the apron length. But yeah, it just had like a bit of a cool vibe to it. Like all 6 men just sort of like went hell to leather, to be fair. Especially Hank, Tank, and Shiloh. They're just balls to the wall kind of guys. And they added a lot of fun to the match, to be fair. It was quite an enjoyable contest. In the end, we do see the duo of Hank and Tank going for a unison suicide dive to Ricky Smokes and Brad Baylor on the outside. And whilst they're doing that unison suicide dive, we see Shiloh sort of step up to the steps and actually sort of like just dive through the ropes, hitting a spear onto Jackson Drake. He follows it up with a neck breaker, and that allows Shiloh and Hank and Tank to get the victory here in this matchup. The drama doesn't end there, though, because once the match is all said and done, the guys are still in the ring sort of celebrating. And we see Blake Monroe looking very disheveled compared to earlier, not so much as glamorous as she's used to being portrayed as. And she gets onto the announce table looking a little bit dejected as well. And she actually basically just refers back to the segment earlier between herself and Jada Parker, saying that at Vengeance Day, it is going to be hell, because she challenges Jada Parker to that of a street fight. Jada comes out and the two attempt to brawl, but they're sort of kept away from each other by Hank and Tank and Shiloh Hill in the ring. It's all a bit chaotic, but the guys do sort of like keep the two women separated as best as they can, and that brings the segment to a close. But definitely tempers are flaring here between the two ladies, and yeah, it's seemingly not slowing down, as Vengeance Day's match now is a street fight. Going from one half NXT to the other, our second half starts off with Dark State, what's left of Dark State at this point anyway. Throughout the course of the night, Tony's been sort of making it his mission to take out members of Dark State here and there, and he's basically got the attention now of Dion Lennox in the ring alone. Dion basically calls out Tony D'Angelo, with Tony appearing pretty much straight away in the crowd, asking how it feels for Dion to go from the hunter to the hunted. He says the man that Dark State killed last year is now a completely different man. He looks at how he's taken out member after member of Dark State before looking ahead to Vengeance Day, where he says he's going to end Lennox and finish his mission to take down Dark State. Lennox replies saying that at Vengeance Day he'll be waiting for Tony in the parking lot because it'll be on site. He's absolutely ready for this fight, and he's 100% locked in, and he wants to basically avenge his Dark State brethren. He says he's fighting for 4 at Vengeance Day. Tony says that once they do get to Saturday and Vengeance Day, he will finish his first mission out of 2 for returning to NXT by beating Lennox. The segment comes to an end, and then we go into our next match of the night, which is for the NXT Women's Championship. Zaria takes on JC Jane in this contest, and quite an interesting dynamic to start off this contest, because both JC and Zaria are expecting solruca to storm the ring immediately, and they sort of have a moment where they're looking around, and Sol doesn't appear anywhere, so it's quite a captivating sort of dynamic there. You don't normally see sort of logic being applied in this sense, so I quite liked it. It was quite refreshing. Anyway, the matchup begins, and it's essentially as you'd expect, quite physical from Zaria especially, very back and forth, sort of like teetering from side to side. JC Jane, I thought, did okay in this matchup. Wasn't her strongest performance, but Zaria looked pretty good. I thought she was showcased quite nicely here. But coming up to the end of the contest, we see the match going down quite smoothly as it goes, and then we finally see solruca. She takes out Fatal Influence on the way down to the ring, and then she storms into the ring. JC Jane and Zaria over on the far side by the ropes, hits them both with a double soul snatcher, and that would end the matchup, basically ruling it as a no contest in this for this NXT Women's Championship match. Sol then parades around the outside afterwards with the NXT Women's Championship in her hand, basically highlighting that she is not done chasing that gold. So, coming up then in the main event of NXT, what would be called the Absolute Experience, hosted by Ricky Saints. This would be quite the segment. Basically, it's an opportunity for Ricky to put on some sort of like concert-style thing that we're more used to seeing Joe Hendry deliver, but obviously whilst, Ricky Saints is trying to get into the mental mind game battle with Joe Hendry, it's a good opportunity for him to maybe just knock Joe Hendry down a couple of pegs. It would, if it was good. It was fun. I'll give it, it was funny. It was amusing. It was a comedy segment, I think. I don't know if it was meant to be as funny as he wanted it to be, but it was quite amusing, I thought. But basically, Ricky Saints says that he knows how much everyone loves Joe Hendry sing-along, so he'll do one better and deliver one of his own. He starts doing a parody of Hendry's theme song before asking for a stagehand to bring him a chair so he can be a bit more comfortable. He then mentions that Hendry wears an ugly shirt during the lyrics and that he believes in Ricky. He once again asks the stagehand to fix his mic as something isn't quite right before he continues once again. He compares the blonde hair of Hendry and the beard combination to that of Guy Fieri, before then saying that he needs a new guitar before a stagehand takes the old one from him and sort of passes him a new one. Doesn't let go, though. Ricky sort of confused as to why the stagehand isn't letting go. Asks, yeah, you can let go now, buddy. You can let go. Then it's revealed that it's actually Joe Hendry as the stagehand. He takes off of his sort of like mask that's covering his face sort of thing, and he then smashes the guitar against Ricky Saints. That then sort of sees Vanity Project storm down to the ring. They come to the aid of Ricky, beating down Joe Hendry. It's a big old assault on Joe. And then then gets Mylesborne into the action, where he comes down to the ring. He actually aids Joe Hendry, and him and Hendry both clear the ring of all four men, with Ricky Saints landing on top of all of Vanity Project at the end of the show. We then see Joe Hendry and Mylesborne pose with their titles in typical Joe Hendry-esque fashion at the end of the show. Yeah, quite the different and unique main event here. I guess you could say the segment was quite different from what we normally expect, but it was quite amusing, to be fair, quite entertaining in that sort of regard. That brings NXT to a close, so basically just, the recap done right there and then. In terms of this episode, though, I thought it was maybe a little bit of a letdown compared to recently. It had its moments. The impromptu match at the start of the night for the NXT North American Championship was quite fun. Just like the fact that they were in suits and thought that was quite funny. The tag team match was quite hellacious, so enjoyed that contest as well. solruca being back in and, obviously looking for that NXT Women's Championship, expected, logical, makes sense. And then Tony sort of like sticking it to Dark State still, going strong. Yeah, it's always good to see as well, with a little bit of Blake and Jada taking their rivalry up another level. So yeah, it's not the greatest episode of NXT, but it was decent, to be fair. I think I'd probably give this one a 6.5 out of 10. Thought it was a drop down from recently, but yeah, it wasn't terrible, to be fair. It's just not a great deal compared to what we've seen prior. But for now, guys, that has been the NXT recap for this week's edition of the show. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking, whether you agree with me, whether you're actually thinking it was a very good show. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you like what we're putting out here, please consider hitting a like on our video, subscribing to our channel, because any support helps us massively, so we really do appreciate it. But for now, that's been everything here at The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you next time. Take it easy, and goodbye for now.